Yeah, failure. Like in the name, like failure is not a fear. Like failure actually helps because okay, well, maybe I need to get good at that or don't do it no more.
Two, one, yeah.
All right, welcome to Willing to Fail. Today we got a very special guest. He is a first-team All-American at Florida. He's a 7-year NFL vet, and now he's a media superstar where he co-hosts a radio show called Hockman and Crowder. He's also a co-host of this little podcast called The Pivot. You can also find him on Inside the NFL, and if that's not enough, he's also taken a stab at being a stand-up comedian. And if that's not enough, he also has his own seasoning called Crowder Powder. Welcome to the show, Channing Crowder. How are you?
I'm good, man. Always tired. I got a lot of jobs, but I'm doing great, brother.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking the time to come on. I know you're a busy man. So obviously, like, for me, just being in the sports media world, like, I see your face all over the place doing podcasts, but obviously you were started as an NFL player and you kind of used that to launch your whole media career. And then doing a little background on you, it seems like your dad was an NFL player too. So I just kind of want to start at the beginning of your journey. Like, what did you learn from your dad of what it takes to be an NFL player other than him gifting you like the size and athletic ability?
Oh, that's a good question. A lot of people do when they look back, and me and my father were the first father and son to be drafted to the same team. He went in like 73 to the Dolphins. I went in 05 to the Dolphins. And everybody was like, oh, yeah, your dad got you into football. He actually didn't, because I didn't start playing football until I was 10. My mom and dad got divorced at 9. So when I moved to Atlanta, I started playing football. My mom really encouraged me playing football. Afterwards, I guess I started playing, defense and went, that side of the ball. And so then, the hand work and all the, the arm fighting and all the stuff you do in football. He talked to me about that stuff. But yeah, it was a different time. Like back then, they didn't make crazy money. So by the time I got old enough to remember things, he was a mortgage broker. He worked for the city of Tampa. So it wasn't like this, this old football star, which he was. He was a great player. But you worked at the car dealership on the off season. He used to sell cars while playing for the Miami Dolphins and Buccaneers. So it was a whole different time. But no, the size for sure built the same. He's 6'4", I'm 6'3". Like if you look at us, look at our body type, we're exactly this knock need. It doesn't look like we should run fast. We can run pretty fast. But yeah, I do. I get in a lot of rooms when people look at me and because my real name's Randolph. And I go by Channing, my middle name, because Randolph's a terrible name. But so his Randy. So when people kind of see my full name on things, they'll look at me, see a big black dude, and then, older people, they'll be like, Randy Crowder? And I'm like, yeah, that's my dad. Oh, man, I love Randy back in the 70s. So it opens some doors for me. But just on the field, man, it was my mom that really encouraged me to go play ball.
That's interesting. Yeah, definitely a different time. So it wasn't like you were like the kid in the locker room and you saw the work ethic. Like you said, he wasn't even really a full-time NFL player when you were watching.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think just having your dad be in the NFL, do you think that just helped you like subconsciously of knowing like, oh, this is possible? Like if I work hard towards this, I can achieve this?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's for sure. And I used to see his old jerseys and things. And then as I started playing it, it's still a pipe dream. Even, I was all state in high school and, big old, I was 6 feet. I think I had to Florida like 215. So that's a big linebacker coming out of high school. So like I always had the size, but knowing and seeing and, being cool with Doug Williams, who my dad played with, and Batman Wood. So growing up, all those ex-players in Tampa, when I was a kid and would go back, I would, my friends were, ex-NFL sons. So like just these big dudes, like it wasn't crazy for me to see an NFL player anymore. So to your point, honestly, I never thought about that, but it wasn't like this crazy, I might make it to the NFL thing. It was like, hey, I'm playing football now in high school. I'm going to go to college and play D1, and then I'm going to get drafted. It was almost a fact in my mind. It wasn't like a question. A lot of people question that path. That path was just the one I was about to take. I went to Florida. They used to call it the NFL vocational school. That was right after Fred Taylor and Javon Curse, Mike Peterson, Rex Grossman, Riedel Anthony, all those guys. Like, you go to the University of Florida, you go to the NFL. We all knew that. So my thing was like, hey, I'm going to go to Florida. I'm going to play a couple of years, and I'm going to go to the league. And it worked out perfectly for me.
That's funny. Yeah, I was looking. I mean, you said you were a decent high school linebacker. I saw like in your senior year, and correct me if I'm wrong, I just pulled this from the internet, but you had 114 tackles, 7.5 sacks, but then you also had 800 rushing yards.
Yeah. I control that ball now.
What?
and being at I was at a actually went to the school that Usher Raymond and Raymond Simone went to. So it was a smart people school. I had to take tests to get in. It was a magnet school. So we weren't known for sports. So when I got there, and my mom wanted me to go to get the best education I could, so we, went to North Springs, and I got there, and they were like, 2A. It was a smaller schools, smaller league and all. And I'm walking, like I say, 6 feet, 200 pounds, and I was like, I got to run over these guys. Oh, this is cake. Oh yeah, I think my junior year, I was like second in the county in Fulton County in rushing and stuff like that. So I could play a little running back too, man, but I was always 10 times better on defense. I think I got one offer to play running back in college.
Were you just better at defense, or did you like it more?
I liked it more, and it wasn't so structured. Like,
Just run around and hit people.
Yeah, so you get here, now you have to be 3 yards back, and now I want to head right towards the outside hip of the guard and, hit this C gap. My coaches at linebacker, they'd say, hey, stand over the center and just go get the ball, like Bobby Boucher. And I was like, this is fun. Then I got to Florida with Charlie Strong. He pretty much told me the same thing. He did teach me a lot more about football and trips, and leans and, and hints and tips to play ball better. But yeah, linebacker, man, line up over the ball, go hit who has the ball. If they give it to somebody else, go hit them. And it worked out pretty well for me.
So what made you choose Florida? Just because it was close to home and it was a clear path to the NFL, or what drew you there?
I was actually committed to Georgia under Mark Richt, and my whole entire school, being in Atlanta, everybody loved the Bulldogs. So as soon as I started getting them D1 offers, I actually got a bunch of them from, they called it Nike Elite Camps, I believe, back in the day. And all the top talent would come to these camps at different colleges. And I went to UGA. Coach Van Hallinger was the DC at the time, and I did well. And so they started offering me, and as soon as Georgia offered me, I committed. I was like, man, I'm going to UGA. And everybody loved them. The Bulldogs are everywhere in Atlanta. And then I started taking visits, and then the scholarships picked up. I ended up visiting South Carolina. And me personally, I don't think Columbia, South Carolina is a place for anybody to live, other than a big old black dude for sure. So, but I love Charlie Strong. As soon as Charlie Strong came to my house the first time, he's talking to my mom. I'm just talking to him. He's a great dude, great leader, amazing defensive mind. And, we sit down and start breaking down film and drawing up plays on napkins and stuff at dinner. And so I wanted to play with Charlie Strong, but he was in South Carolina. So I was like, Coach, I'm not coming to South Carolina, but I love you. Coincidentally, like a month before signing day, Steve Spurrier ends up leaving to go to the Commanders now. So he left, and then they give Ron Zook the job. So then Ron Zook starts recruiting everybody like they didn't say no already. So I was committed. Ron Zook's like, the hell with that. I'm about to just recruit you anyway. Ron Zook starts coming to my school. He's like, hey, you ever taken 5 visits? Take a visit. I was like, nah, Coach, I ain't going to take a visit. 3 days later, he hires Charlie Strong as the DC. Guy I already loved, and a place that I already knew I would go play for at UF. So then Charlie calls me. I see it on ESPN probably at 9 a.m. At 9:45, he calls me. Hey, Crowder, man, I'm not in South Carolina anymore. If you want to come down to Gainesville, we still got a visit left. I said, okay. Went to Gainesville that weekend, had a great time, and that's how I ended up being a Gator, was because Charlie Strong got to UF. My favorite coach got to a school I loved already.
Wow, that's crazy how all that pieces together. Yeah, I'm from Atlanta too. I went to Georgia, so I know how much of a tie is if you're a big high school recruit in Georgia, especially now.
Yeah. Man, when I decommitted and went to UF, like I remember my name was Miss Benning. The science teacher, she wouldn't talk to me anymore, and I thought it was, I thought it was funny at first. Like, no, Chan, you're the enemy now, and I'd be like, ha ha. Like I'd laugh at some of the teachers that say that, and for the rest of the year they were dead serious. Like, we're not friends anymore. Why would you do that to my Bulldogs? It was a weird dynamic the rest of that school year.
How did you do against Georgia in your college career?
I was 1-1. Oh, the first game was at David Green. I got hurt early in the game. I got a sack in like the third play of the game, and then got hurt. We ended up winning that game, and then I played the entire next year. We played the whole game. Little Tony Brown, what was his name? Thomas Brown, and they had another little itty bitty running back who talked a lot of trash. And I ended up playing pretty well against Georgia. And the game I balled out in, we lost. The game I got injured in, we won. So I don't know how successful I was as a player. And we do better with me not on the field. But no, man, between the hedges, the games was wild, but I tell you, between the hedges is a fun place to play too. Because I go up there. We were in Jacksonville, obviously, at the world biggest cocktail party. But I still love UGA. Like UGA was a great place. I just picked Florida over UGA. And people think, oh, you bailed on us. But I have love for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, it's a big rivalry. I wish they would do that game home and home sometimes instead of Jacksonville every year. I think it'd be cool to have Florida come between the hedges or Georgia go to the swamp.
I'm not a fan of neutral site games. It is what it is. I went to UF, and Camping World Stadium a couple years back, and I said the same thing. I was like, man, we should have done this at the Swamp. This place is terrible.
Yeah. So you were kind of battling injuries like even before your college career started, huh? Would that like,
Yeah.
How did that affect you mentally going like before your college career starts? You're like kind of delayed your start because of your injuries. What was that like?
It was, you know what? I don't know if I didn't get all those injuries if I would have made it, because it gave me a work ethic out of this world. Because I always felt behind. So when I do commit to Florida, and I'm a big time recruit. Everybody with Pac-Man Jones was still in Atlanta. Ahmad Carroll went to Arkansas. We had a crew coming out of Atlanta at that point. So we were all in that Super 11 and everything. But I tear my ACL for the third time, my last game of my senior year. So I tore it ninth grade summer at Penn State football camp. Then I come back and my body dissolved it. Like it didn't accept the graft. So I'm just playing and my knee starts swelling up. They come back and they're like, hey, you don't have an ACL again because my body rejected the graft. It was some dead guy's cadaver, hamstring or something. They knelt down, put my new one in, and my right leg, last game of my senior year, I tear my left ACL. So when I'm already committed going to Florida, Zook called me. That was a Friday night. Zook called me Saturday morning. He heard what happened. Now your scholarship is good. Just rehab. We'll get you with some guys. We'll get you with our medical staff so they can work with their doctors that are doing your ACL. We're good to go. But from that point, like I always felt as if I was at a deficit. So I used to wake up when they let me run. Like I'd wake up at 3 a.m. and just go in front of my apartment and just start running up and down the street because I just felt like somebody's outworking me. There's somebody outworking me. So I created a linebacker in California. The reason it was California because it was the farthest place the way I could think of that is constantly working. So this dude, he didn't even have a name, but in my mind, there's a guy out here that's grinding and trying to take my job, take my scholarship, take my NFL career. Like if he's working, I got to work harder. So those knee injuries really just put a fire under me that I thought people thought I was maybe a little slow, because if you wake up at 4 a.m., look out your window, and it's a 6 foot, 200-pound big old black dude with no shirt on running back and forth in the parking lot of an apartment complex. You're like, what's wrong with this kid? They thought maybe I wasn't all the way there. It's just I had to have somebody to compete against, and it was this dude in California. Didn't even name him.
Interesting. That's a cool way to creatively like drive yourself to just outwork someone that doesn't even exist. You didn't have an imaginary friend, you had an imaginary rival.
Yeah, I did. That was my if. I just saw that movie. I had an IR. I had a rival out there somewhere that's trying to get my job.
Well, at least, I mean, it obviously seemed to have worked out pretty well, that crazy strategy, because like as soon as you got to Florida, I mean, you had 9 starts as a freshman, which was the most for a freshman linebacker in school history, and then you just come out the gate with 106 tackles. Like, is that what you credit to your success, or was there more that, like, you feel like you just became even better once you got into that, like, college football environment?
I think I became better. I gained a lot of weight because I had that, tearing my ACL, I couldn't play that gray. They called it gray shirting back then. They know all the terminology now. It's weird. But I had a year off, so I didn't start practicing with the team until the bowl game that season. So I was a first year. I was a freshman, true freshman, but I was engaged for like 4 months before that. And then I got to work out and like play against Ernest Graham and Rex and those guys during bowl practice. So I had like a little window. But then when I got to Gainesville, started eating real food, I went from like 210 to 235 in like a couple months. And I was, you got stone crabs and steaks and pasta every day and training. And then they give you a Gator One card with unlimited money to go to any restaurant you want. So then I just got real, real strong and big. And I'm already running every day to try to come back from this knee injury. So I was just in crazy shape. And then it got easier because everybody around me was good. So in high school, it was all on me to make every touchdown, get every first down, make every tackle, cover the like I was a middle linebacker, but if they had a great receiver, my coach would be like, Channing, go play nickel. And I'm a middle linebacker. I'm like, play nickel? Just cover number one. So I'm running around with these D1 receivers because nobody else on my team could keep up with them. And I got to Florida, man, and Bobby McCray was there, and Gus Scott, and Keywan Radley. He was all of them. Keywan was one of the best corners I ever played with. And all these dogs are around me. And I'm like, oh, you're not concentrating on me? Man, I'm going to knock out everybody now because they're not even pointing at me anymore. I'm just this little freshman that luckily got on the field. So once I got around a lot more talent, I think that's made it a lot easier and really just working. Charlie Strong, too. I give him a lot of credit. I tell him all that. I still talk to Chuck to this day. But he really explained football and simplified it while running an in-depth scheme. It's the same thing Nick Saban does. It's like those great D coordinator Dom Capers is like he simplifies this intricate scheme, and now you're tricking people mentally, but you're covering one gap and you have one little zone to cover to your right, but it looks crazy to an offense as they've got all these people moving around.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And then, I mean, you went to your sophomore year and you were a captain, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I know that's a big honor because it means all your peers respect you. What do you think was it about you that separated you from the rest of your teammates that they wanted you to be the captain?
Work ethic. I never got tired. No matter what was going, I could run we'd run the swamp up and down. I'd run with both groups. Like I just run. So I could run like a deer, but also like the edge. Like I would, we'd get in fights in the weight room. Honestly, I got a police report and I got in fights off the field, but it was just like, you're not going to say nothing crazy to me. And then even with my teammates or on the field, like if one of them guys jump up talking, I'm the first one over there. You're not going to set the standard of trying to, try to little boy the Gators. Like I'm a Gator now. So I think that like defensive mentality that I really had was a big part of it. And then just the work, like I said, the old thing, first one in the weight room, last one out, like that whole thing probably was created through the injuries. But that whole thought is that, yeah, like this dude just works and he goes and you're making plays. So people are seeing the work you do. Then you go out there on Saturday and lead the nation in tackles, whatever that week. And then I'm right back in the weight room on Sunday morning and won't have to work out on Sunday. So stuff like that, I think that gained respect of a lot of veterans and especially my class. Because my class that came in, that were all the juniors and seniors when Tebow and them got there. And when Urban took over, so Zook's guys were really winning those national championships. Urban just got a hell of a quarterback in Tebow and worked that little offense pretty well. But that was all my crew from Marcus Thomas, Ray McDonald, Jarvis Moss, all those guys, Harvey, all those guys were the guys coming up with me being young. I ended up going to the league as a sophomore, and all those guys stayed and got some rings.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. I was like, obviously, it seems like you're just a naturally very driven person. And like you said, the injury kind of like helped ingrain that work ethic. Do you think you're just naturally a high motor, or was your like day-to-day drive just trying to get to the NFL, and that's why you were working so hard?
I might have some letters. I might have the ADDs or HDs or all the stuff they do, but I'm always going. I'm always talking. I'm always messing around, laughing. But yeah, I wouldn't wake up every day. Even when I was like 6th grade, 7th grade, I'd ride my bike to school, which was like 12 miles away. Just because like I was like, hey, I can get in better shape. I don't want to wait for the bus. So let me wake up and ride my bike to school, park my bike at my friend's house, walk over with him, come on. Now I'm driving 24 hours, 24 miles a day. That's pretty cool. Like it was just cool to me to be able to do it and just to be working. But I guess it wasn't make it to the league. It was get out of the hood.
Okay.
So it's like, I need to work hard because I want to present my children. I want to do better than, what we're doing. Like I said, we didn't come up great. My, mom was a paralegal. My dad worked for the city. Like, so we didn't have the big old houses. Then they get divorced and, we were living in the rough side of town in Atlanta. We were in Decatur right off Columbia Drive. So we're in that area and I'm like, I want to go live out in Roswell. I want to go out, what I'm saying? I want to be out by I got like Walton and Chattahoochee and go play them schools. And I'd be like, damn, I want to come live out here. I don't want to be in this apartment anymore. So I think the drive to be successful, I saw it through football. And then I was an academic All-American and all that crap. I was Legion of Honor, Legion of Scholar, all that stuff too in high school. So I did grind in the classroom, but when I saw football and I saw these coaches and you look up and see all the guys with the collared shirts on at your game and they're taking notes it kind of hit me like, oh, okay, yeah, this is working out. Let me even work harder than I was before.
And is that drive still? Is that still the same driving factor today? Like, I mean, you're plenty successful. I'm sure you have enough money to go live in Roswell or Chattahoochee.
I can afford a house or two.
So is that still kind of the same drive of like wanting to like still create a better life for your kids and do all that stuff, or is it more of your legacy, or are you just more of like catching all this momentum of success and it's just addicting?
Yeah, I think it's all combined. The drive is still there, just the wanting to go. I couldn't sit around, all day. I wanna continue that legacy too. So I say that like now, like the seasoning lines, and we're dabbling about to get in a restaurant thing where now when I get old, now kids can say, hey, this is our family line, this is our family restaurant, this is so I do like that legacy part of it. The momentum was there because it was radio, then it was some TV, then the podcast blew up, then it was more TV, and then so I'm like, hey, if you ask me, do I want a job? Yeah, I take a job. So let's get it. I love a good check, bro. I take that now. But also I tell you the biggest driving force probably my wife. She's the brains behind the operation. So when I do interviews, you start bringing up everything, all the stuff I got going. It's like, okay, yeah, she helped me do that. And she does this for me, and she does the contracts for that. So my wife is a genius. She went to Howard, played tennis at Howard. She's a genius, very smart woman. So with my limited talent and her brains, that's the rock of our success.
Sounds good. Teamwork makes the dream work.
Yes, sir.
And yeah, I'm curious about more of your off the field ventures, but first I want to kind of go back to you just deciding to go to the NFL. So is that the same reasoning of why you left as a sophomore? Is you just wanted that check, or was there any thought of we got something special here in Florida, maybe I should stay? All right, we'll get right back to that interview. But first, I got to let you know about one of our sponsors, Better. Football season is here, which means it's time for us to make some money. Better is the best daily fantasy app. Personally, I love it because it's intuitive, easy to use, and here in California, it's legal. So you can just pick your favorite players over and under certain stat lines, put them together, and make some serious money. So download the app, use the code WILLINGTOFAIL, and you can get your first deposit doubled up to $250. All right, back to the interview.
I didn't know what Urban was gonna do. Remember, that was Urban coming from Utah. Like,
Yeah.
Who was Urban Meyer at that moment? Who was Urban Meyer? What is it? Like Alex Smith was there. He won a couple games. Now he's gonna come to Florida. Are you kidding me? Like, so when I actually, it's a funny story. When I got arrested, my first offseason. So before my sophomore year, I got arrested, and so then when they fired Ron Zook, there was like 4 games left in the year. And he ended up coaching the rest of the games, and Charlie Strong coached the Peach Bowl that year. So they already hired Urban before we played in the Peach Bowl and all that stuff because Utah season, whatever. But we knew Urban was coming to Florida before Zook was even gone. So I was in games, but I was talking to you do your you can put your draft grades in. So I did my draft grade and all, and I knew that it was first round talent. I was already All-American and all that. And Coach Anderson called me, and I'm sitting there. It's like a Thursday night. I'm sitting there, and my phone starts blowing up like this 602 number. And I was like, I don't know what 602 is. It ended up being Utah. It was 60321. It's something, but it was a weird area code I'd never seen before. So I silenced it. Second call, third, I silenced it. And then I pick him like, hey, who's this? Like, hey, this is Coach Anderson, at Utah, but Urban Meyer just got the Florida job, and we're trying to call, the team leaders and get to know him before Urban comes. I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, put Coach on the phone. And I got Coach as soon as first thing Urban said to me, I've laughed about this with him since then, at I think Big Ten Media Day when he was at Ohio State. And he gets on the phone. I'm like, hey, Coach, what's up? Yeah, I see you getting some trouble. And we're not going to deal with those trouble guys when I'm the head coach of the University of Florida. First thing he ever said to me. And I was like, I told him how I felt. I said, Coach, this is the wrong way for you to talk to me the first time you ever meet me. You might want to say, hey, what's up? How you doing? Something nicer than that. Oh, he mumbles, gives the phone back to Coach Anderson. Coach Anderson's like, okay, Channing, we'll see you soon. I his phone. I was like, man, I can't play with this guy. Lo and behold, it was Urban Meyer, 2-time national championship at Florida. But yeah, that whole first interaction, and I knew some guys. I knew I had a high draft grade. I was already thinking about leaving, and that was kind of thing. I was like, man, let me go to the league, man. This dude's crazy.
Yeah, that's kind of ironic looking back because that team had so much trouble come out of there.
I've laughed about that. I was the problem. If a dude called me a bad name, I slapped him. These dudes were really crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's even crazier looking back to the success they had on the field.
Yeah.
But that was about all right. So then you go to the NFL. You said you were like a first-round talent grade. You got drafted in the third round. Was that exciting or disappointing?
Very disappointing. Yeah, I remember went fishing on draft night at what is it? Oh, I forget the name. Lake, not a Lake Alice. There's another lake right around Gainesville we used to fish in the middle of the country. Went out there, bought a big Hummer, spent a bunch of money I didn't have. Bought a big Hummer, bought all these fishing poles and all. I had an old school in the house. Like I think I spent like damn near $300,000 before the draft. So something stupid. And so go out there, and I'm going the first round. So I got the radio on high, I got my phones all sitting up, charging. Hey, the phone's gonna ring, somebody's gonna draft me. We're gonna stop fishing and go back to Gainesville and party. And the draft, that was the first 3 rounds in the first day. The draft started at noon. I didn't get drafted till 8:15 at night. So fishing. I remember they called an offensive lineman's name. The Patriots were the 32nd pick. They called an offensive lineman's name, 05 draft. As soon as they called their name, I had, 5 or 6 of my buddies out there. I said, let's go. So it's time to go. We're going home. Get all the stuff in the car, drove home silent. It was like a 45-minute drive to game. Drove home silent. I'm just pissed driving down these little country roads, get back to my apartment and tell everybody, my mom's there, my sisters come up from Tampa. I said, everybody leave. Because I'm mad. So for the next 3 hours, I just sat there and stared at the TV. Mad as all get up. And then phone rings. What was it, 60, 70th pick, 68, around 68. Phone rings. And I was like, hey, you want to go speak to Nick Saban? I said, yeah. Hey, you want to be at Miami Dolphins? I was like, hey, man, I'll go anywhere now. It's cool. I'll come to Miami. I was like, okay, well, we'll call you in the morning. Oh, thanks, Coach. Talk to you later. Bye. Then I kind of got excited because I was taken. But, man, for them 8+ hours, man, that's tough. That's tough tread for a 21-year-old.
Yeah, that's probably felt like an eternity. But what was your reaction when you got to Miami? Like, I mean, you didn't have a good first reaction of Urban Meyer, and I know Nick Saban wasn't the Nick Saban we know at that time either. Like, well, I mean, he had success, but what was your initial reaction of working with Nick Saban and then all the stars that were on that Dolphins team?
Oh, that was the first thing. So you go in the first couple of weeks and they're doing like, workouts and some runs. And I walk in, man, I love football and I love defense. I walk in, Junior Seau's two lockers down from me. Zach Thomas is across, Jason Taylor's there, Buddy Holiday, Kevin Carter, Sam Madison, Pat Surtain. I'm like, so I'm sitting there with guys I played video games with for years, and they're and they're looking at me, hey, what up, Rook? What up, Rook? What up? So I would say starstruck was the worst, and Junior was probably the worst. Like, first time he talked to me, I couldn't talk. Hey, buddy, what's going on? Hey, hello, sir. You don't have to call me sir. Oh, sorry, Junior, Mr. Seau. Like, I just couldn't. I was like, man, this is Junior Seau. This is the coolest thing in the world. And so, but them vets were very cool. When you get an old vet like that, like a 10-year guy, he's not worried about you being a rookie. He just wants to go win games. It's when you get those second, third-year guys that want to talk crazy to you and do the rookie hazing and all. So I had such veterans that I love the vets. And then Nick Saban, he didn't say, speaking of him, he didn't say my name like Channing or Crowder the entire time he coached me. He called me Gator. He called me Gator during games, practice, walking through the hallway. If he saw me, Gator, the coach, and that was it. But he did tell me, we played LSU in 04. What, they won the national championship? 04? We played LSU in 04, and they were 12-1. Chris Leak and Theatric Faison went into Death Valley, beat Matt Mock? I don't know how I remember these names. Beat them in Death Valley that year, and they were 12-1, won the national championship. And Saban said, the reason I drafted you is because you gave us hell in Death Valley when the Gators played the Tigers. And I said, well, Coach, thank you so much. He said, at that point, the injuries, I knew you dropped in the draft with the injuries. He said, yeah, they said you were getting some fights, but who doesn't fight? You're a middle linebacker. But it's like, that game really set me over the edge to draft you. So go out here and make some plays. Okay, Coach, I got you.
That worked out. What was it like in practice when they started? Was your rookie year the first year where Ronnie Brown and Ricky Williams were running that Wildcat? Were you guys having to practice against that? What was that like?
That was 6, 8. So that was my third year, and they started it in 08. It took off, but when they doing the Wild, it's so funny. It's crazy the Wildcat blew up because and we remember when they lined up, and it was we just got Chad Pennington from the Jets. They traded for Chad. Chad's shoulder was like up. This is on mine. His shoulder's shredded. You wouldn't got a dude that just tore up his toe and shoulder. Like, what are we gonna do? And man, it might have been the first week of camp. David Lee came from Arkansas, and he was running that stuff with McFadden and Felix Jones and all those guys. So we go to team run, and they put Roddy at quarterback. The whole defense falls out laughing. Like, what are you guys doing? This is embarrassment. All about to let Roddy play quarterback? We start bashing in the Wildcat. Because all you got to do is follow the guards. So we knew the run plays. We're like, just nobody covers Chad. Same thing, nobody, Lee Pennington out there by himself. Just stop the run. This is cake. We bashed the Wildcat in for a month straight at camp. We go up, so we're like, yeah, coach, take that crap out. That doesn't work. We go up to New England that time, go out there, New England gets the lead on us. They trot Roddy out at quarterback. We say, oh, Lord, we're about to embarrass us. Man, I think Roddy had 3 rushing touchdowns. Ricky had one. Roddy threw one to Anthony Fasano, and that's when the Wildcat blew up. But I don't think they got a yard during camp during the Wildcat. But they went to tearing people's heads off with the Wildcat during the season.
That's funny. I didn't expect it to work like that, but it makes sense. I mean, you guys had a pretty solid defense for years in Miami, especially with Nick Saban.
Oh, yeah, and it's funny that the Wildcat got famous playing the Patriots, and then the next time later that year, Bill Belichick shut it down. Because now it was on film. So when you just embarrassed Bill by 25 points in Foxborough. I remember after the game, the post-game interview, I think we were on the airplane that just got home, and they asked him about it. Like, yeah, you weren't ready for that, that new set the Dolphins did. He said, don't worry about it. We'll play him again. I knew what that meant. Yeah, Jack, I'm not sleeping at night. Watch what happens next time. Yeah, they shut it down the next time too. But no, that Wildcat was big. That went all the way to Pee Wee ball. College started running, high school started running. I'm out there playing, coaching kids, watching kids play, and they're running the Wildcat. It blew up.
Yeah, it changed the game for sure. So, did you have any did it take a while for the game to slow down for you? I mean, looking at the stats, it seems like you did the same thing in college. You went right to the NFL, and then you just doing what you do and just started 13 games at 85 tackles. Like, was there a big learning curve, or do you feel like because of the talent around you, you were able to kind of just plug in really quickly?
Kind of that same way. And then I talk about those, I call them super vets, those 10-year guys that all they care about is being successful. So I remember when it hit Zach Thomas that I was starting at Will. He was starting Mike, starting at Will. And then when he went out, I had to play Mike. So I'd ask him questions all day long because I had to get the defense down. Hey, Zach, so if they move the football, go here. So I had to have the nose this way. So I slide the 3 back to a 1, or do I leave him? Do we have 2 3s now? And I'm just asking these questions. And he kind of figured out, like, okay, this kid really wants to know. So Zach took me under his wing, and he let me watch film and take notes. And I just sit there next to him, and he just be watching film. It's over and over and over, same play over and over. And then he'll write something down about the left guard. Then he watched the next play, and he writes something down about the receiver split. And I just watched him break it down. And after I figured out what those notes meant, man, it felt like people were running him molasses. Because I would look at the guard, and it was like slow motion. Look over at the guard, and you see the guard peeking to his left, and then you see the center he's about to pull. Oh, this is how Zach does this so easily. So once Zach explained like the nuance of football to me, I was already, I could already run and tackle, but Zach, I tell people all the time, without Zach Thomas, I don't start in the league for as long as I did. But once he taught me football for real, man, that was cake. I can't cover Tony Gonzalez or Antonio Gates anyway. So they catch balls on me, but most of the world can't cover them. So that's not just on me, but just the style of play, getting to the right gap, getting to the running back, hitting the Adrian Petersons, the Marshawn Lynch's, the Danian Tomlinson, probably one of the hardest players I played against, Randy Moss. Like playing those guys, it was just talent-based. Where, can you cover Randy Moss? No, coach. So if he's in the slot, you better put me somewhere else because he's about to catch this ball. Period.
It's crazy how important a vet is, especially to rookies, of just their trajectory and their success in the league. I feel like not talked about enough. Did you have one of those like cliche, like welcome to the NFL moments?
In camp, Vernon Carey, when the UN played the league like 11 years, I think. So in camp and in college, I could just run real fast, and then you just jump and slap the lineman's hands, and they're so fat and, they're not very nimble. They just fall down. You just run around and make a tackle. And I tried to do a little jump swim, and Vernon Carey caught me with one arm under my shoulder pads and drove me out. We were probably about on the hash, drove me to the sideline. And then we're friends to this day. Me and Big Vern are tight. Big Vern had a little, he's a nice guy, but he had a little nastiness to him. He sees the chain link fence about 5 yards outside the gate. I mean, off the sideline. So he just runs right to the edge of the chain link fence and then lets me go and lets my whole body bash into the chain link fence. Then he laughs and says, don't try that bleep again, and ran off. And that was kind of like, man, this dude is 6'5", well, right about 330, 340, and is quick like that. I'm used to fast running back. I'm not used to a fast, nimble tackle. And that's what you know what? Linemen were the biggest surprise to me. Like I was in SEC. I've seen great running backs. I've seen great quarterbacks. I played against Eli and different. Like I've seen greatness from skill positions. Man, like Jonathan Ogden or Steve Hutchinson, Big Vern, Leonard Davis. I can go on. Will Shields, like those, Willie Roaf, those guys that size that move that fast were just eye-opening to me when I first got to the league.
Yeah, I mean I feel like that's the big difference. There's no holes. There's no like 3-star like walk-on guys anymore.
No, you ain't gonna pick on nobody. The league gets to have a lot of guys to pick on. That's one thing. I used to do that to guards. Hey, Crowder, which side you want to blitz on? Left side. Why, do you see something? No, because that guard is terrible. I just want to run on the sorry dude. Get to the league, there's no sorry dudes anymore.
Well, looking through your whole like NFL career, it seemed like a great trajectory. Like your first couple of years, you're starting all these games, you're getting all these tackles, and it just slowly kind of diminished over the years. Was that just injuries that were like bothering you, or what do you think kind of slowed you down towards the end of your NFL career?
Yeah, wear and tear. Because then the knee surgeries, then I had a meniscus taken out a bunch of times. Then I had a microfracture in my right knee, and that's right when they started microfracturing. They didn't know what the hell they were doing. I'm not talking about just the Dolphins doctor. I'm talking about any doctor. So I went to James Andrews. I went to all the top guys, and they were like, "Oh yeah, you gotta pick your bone. It's gonna bleed out and all this stuff." So the microfracture. Then the following year, playing the Texans, I had a Liz Frank, and they had to put 2 screws in my foot, and so that was on the same side of my body. So then that's when I started feeling like that veteran thing, like would get warmed up and whereby like I'd be sore after practice, where I used to be 05, 6, 7, 8. Like I could go to practice, then go play basketball, then go swimming, then go party, then go back to workouts the next morning. Like it could just go. I started after the foot and the microfracture. Then I felt my body slowing down. I felt like I needed more time to warm up, more hot tub, more steam room and all. And then, like you say, to your point, then the effectiveness on the field did follow, where now you're just I used to try to make every play. Now I was making sure I was in my gap before I go help people. Before I just take off running. If he cuts back, I'll cut back too and go hit him wherever he's hitting. So yeah, I slowed them last couple of years. It was injury. The wear and tear started beating on me.
And when you're seeing that like inevitable like deterioration and knowing that you can't play in the NFL forever, at what point did you make the decision or start getting excited about like going into the media world after? Was that not till after you retired, or did you have those thoughts while you were still playing?
It's weird how God works. They asked me, they had something on the news called Crowder's Corner, when they had me in a corner because they didn't want me around everybody, because all I did was make fun of people all day. So all the media walked through the same door to get into practice for the post-game media sessions. And I just didn't make fun of people, like make fun of every single report. You know the beat guys, you know them for years. So Omar Kelly's and the David Neals, and I still talk to Armando Steiger, like they'd walk in the same door and I just start riding on their clothes and making fun of their hair or just joking about their name. So then a station down here said, "Hey, can we record you and call it like Crowder's Corner? We'll play it at the end of the credits of the news, just for people to laugh." I was like, "Yeah, no problem." Dolphins approved it. And from that, somebody asked me, do I want to do a radio show on Monday night? So we have Tuesdays off. They're like, "Hey, you like to talk, people enjoy your interviews, you do a radio show." It's actually the station I'm still on, Hawkman and Crowder, 560 WQAM. So during my career, I had radio shows on this station. Didn't plan on retiring when I did. The Dolphins ended up releasing me. They wanted me to take a pay cut and I wouldn't. So they released me and I was going to take the year off. And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll take the year off and get healthy." And then who was it? Steve Goldstein went to do the Panthers, and they knew I did radio already. It was like, hey, I know you're taking a year off. Would you want to do radio, a couple days a week? I was like, yeah. And then that parlayed into me retiring, middle of that year. And that parlayed into the radio and radio, TV, podcasting. And then, then I just, once people know you can talk, yeah, they'll let you talk.
So how long were you doing like radio stuff until you got into like the real podcasting? Was the I Am Athlete like the first podcast you were doing?
Yeah, that was the first podcast during COVID. And so that was 20. So probably I was doing radio 10 years. Right at 10 years before I started. So I got behind, that's in front of the camera. So I was doing the talk side of it for a long time. And then COVID came. We started the podcast because everybody was sitting at home anyway. So we started the podcast. And that's when we thought, we didn't know we were so far ahead. We didn't know we were one of the first podcasts out, especially with ex-athletes and the conversation we have. But once I Am Athlete, and then we broke up from that, then we started to pivot. And once we saw the blueprint, it was cake after that.
That's crazy because, from just like a consumer side, like I see you on all these podcasts and like you're obviously great at it, but what I don't see is that you did radio for 10 years before everyone sees it. So it's like, oh, no wonder he's good at it. It's just the work of in the dark comes the light,
Oh, yeah, 100%. And people say all the time, like, man, how do you do that? How do you do it? Bro, 2 to 6 is a long time, 5 days a week. If I can do 2 to 6 every single day, you don't think I can talk for 25 minutes? Throw a couple commercials in there and let Fred ask a question, man, we good to go.
So what happened with I Am Athlete? Because you're not, and then now, like, the pivot started. Like, what was that transition? Yeah. Like, how did that go down?
Oh, we didn't have the paperwork together on the I Am Athlete side. So it was like friends getting together saying, hey, we have to sit in the house anyway, man. Let's do a podcast of us sitting around talking. And so then that blew up, and we didn't have the paperwork right. Everybody had their own thought of what the podcast was. Brandon thought it was like a marketing arm to his gym. We were like, no, we to do the podcast. Like, let's just do that and work this out. And so then the paperwork wasn't done, so we couldn't agree up on the paperwork. So they were like, well, the money started coming in, and we're like, hey, how are we going to bust this money down? And it was like, we couldn't get the percentages right. Nobody saw it equally. So then myself and Fred were like, hey, well, I Am Athlete's gone. Well, we know how to do podcasting now. Let's go find a guy. We had our producer that was doing I Am Athlete. She, so I Am Athlete folded. So she wasn't doing podcasts anymore. We had a podcast. We went already being friends with Ryan Clark. Fred and myself got Ryan and Alicia involved. And then we started shooting the pivot. Yeah, going on 3 years ago, December. And then it had the same trajectory as I Am Athlete. It's like, oh, y'all are known guys that are having real conversations, and nobody has to fight and yell and scream, like y'all are just talking, but y'all do a great job production. So there's a bunch of tentacles to it, but yeah, once we saw the blueprint I Am Athlete, I was like, okay, yeah, we could do this again.
Yeah, you guys are doing great at the pivot. I mean, you guys are cranking out episodes during this training camp.
Yeah, it's a job now. I'm not. That's the thing. People ask me about the podcast. They're like, hey man, how do you get a successful podcast? I said, you have a podcast? Yeah. So how many episodes you have? 6. And how long? 6 months. I said, yeah, man. Consumers need more than one a month, bro. you gotta go. You gotta, almost that appointment listening where they have to know whenever they're sitting somewhere and they need something to watch or listen to, they know there'll be something new with the pivot, and that's it's honestly what the world's turning it to.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, as a Falcons fan, watching you guys interview Raheem Morris, man, I couldn't be more excited for this season coming up. Just a selfish question for me, like, you went to the building. It seems like you guys had a great relation with Raheem already. Like, what is your overall feel of like the energy and the vibes in that Falcons building? Like, what do you expect for them to do this season?
Oh, I expect them to do, to be really good. They have a bunch of talent, man. You got Bijan, you got Pitts, you got, those guys. What's Kirk? Mike, I know everybody argue about them drafting Penix would already have a Kirk in the building, but
I think that's the best move ever.
I was like, see, I was like, hey, you got the future, you got the present. What's going on? You got the money, don't spend it. Until Arthur Blank is not worried about a couple $1 million. Let's just be honest about Arthur. But no, Raheem. So we interviewed Raheem the first time when he was with the Rams as the DC when they won the championship. So we already knew Raheem for a year plus, hung out with them. I was playing on the trampoline with his kids. So he's a great family. Wife's amazing. So when he got the job, we were so excited. He is a flat out energy but like a very smart, very good defense. You know, you can tell the defense he runs are top notch, but he's so personable. He's the new wave of coach. His friends. I was sitting at dinner with, which is pretty cool to say, but that's brag. Sitting at dinner with Kevin O'Connell, Matt LaFleur, Sean McVay, Raheem Morris. Those guys one night at the owners meetings this year, and just sitting around with those guys. They're normal dudes. Like that whole, the Bill Belichick and the Saban of that, you're a player and I'm a coach and you just listen to me, you're the downstairs, just do what I say. That new wave of coaches, and I'll involve Al Shanahan in there, Mike McDaniel with the Dolphins right now. They're that new age of coaches like, hey, we can go chill and have a beer, but I need you to learn this playbook because you have to do this and that and this. So I think the communication of Raheem's amazing. We know he knows how to call a defense, and he can bring people together with his personality. And what I love too is, and we go to a lot of training camps, we go to a lot of facilities, is that Arthur Blank has like a little private door into Raheem's office. You don't see owners that want that fast of a connection with the head coach. I've never seen that before. But it's like Arthur is very involved in football, but he lets his football people make decisions. But he's not an absent owner. He wants to know what's going on. But I hire you to do your job. So I really that was the biggest takeaway from that is the connection that Arthur has with everybody in that building. But Raheem is gonna be very entertaining for y'all, and he's a great coach. But yeah, some of his press conferences are hilarious because he got a lot of Mike Tomlin in him too, where he's not gonna just tell you what you want to hear. He's gonna tell you how this thing pops in his mind, and if you don't like it, go to hell. Like you asked me the question, I didn't ask you the question, so I love that about Raheem.
Yeah, my first reaction as a Falcons fan, I was like, oh, why didn't we get Belichick? If we were gonna get Raheem, why didn't we just hire Raheem when he was already our coach? But
yeah.
I like the way it's played out now. Like just his first introductory meeting with the players, like got me jazzed up. Like I was ready to run through a wall for him.
Yeah, no, you're not. The Falcons will not walk out of that locker room flat this year, because Raheem's not gonna let that happen, man. You can see, so you watched, even if you can feel it through the TV, like his energy, and that's not. He doesn't need coffee. He doesn't need a Red Bull or Celsius or anything like that. He wakes up like that. Raheem, it's 8 a.m. He's jacked up, telling jokes, laughing, pushing you and all. I'm like, man, take it easy, Raheem, man. I still ain't drinking my coffee yet.
If you're telling him take it easy, man, and you're as high motor as you are, that says something.
he goes, man. I really do, and I know a lot of those guys. I really do. I hope the Falcons are good this year. Even though I'm a Bucs fan, I hope the Falcons get back on top. They have them. I love Bijan Robinson. Love him to death. He's the future of running back.
Oh yeah, I mean he says all the right things in the interviews too. Like he seems like a great person too.
Yeah.
Yeah, super excited for this season. So last couple of questions for you. So I mean, you're doing like the radio show, you're doing the podcast, and then like that's not enough for you. You want to do the Inside the NFL, you want to do TV, and now you're doing the stand-up comedy. Like, I guess more the Inside the NFL. Like, what drew you to that opportunity? Just more chances to talk about football, or?
Yeah, more football and opportunity. Ryan was doing the ESPN stuff. We did some ESPN stuff, and then they were, when they rebranded and left HBO. They took it to the CW, took it back to NFL Films. We're actually shooting at NFL Films some of the pivot shows because of the relationships we have with, Ross and Keith and all those guys. And so they were like, hey, putting the crew together to do Inside the NFL. I was like, put my name in the hat and see what happens, and ended up getting on, for that season. So it was really just the opportunity. I don't say no to anything. That's pretty much like even the comedy thing. My wife was encouraging me to do the comedy, and then ended up somebody working at the station. Marcos is also a part of improv. So it all came together. My wife's been really encouraging it. So I was like, okay, yeah, I'll go try the comedy. So, just try some stuff. All they can do is not laugh. Or if you go on a TV show and you're not good, they'll just fire you. Like it. It's funny. Failure. Like in the name, like failure is not a fear. Like failure actually helps because, okay, well, maybe I need to get good at that, or don't do it no more. But I have to improve upon that when you do fail at something or struggle.
Yeah, I think failure is key, and I think you being willing to fail is like, okay, yeah, I go do this and fail. It's like, all right, well, I'm back right where I started. Probably.
And what you gonna do? That ego and embarrassment, man. Them two things. I would tell you that's you gotta have an ego, the confidence. But that being embarrassed and no, I don't want to look bad in front of people. Oh hell, you'll never do anything great if you're scared to fail. So yeah,
true.
that's one thing.
That's why I like stand-up so much. I mean, as a kid, I was just a fan of stand-up, but now as I like see all these comedians on podcasts, like their journey of failure is insane. It's usually, from what I hear, it's like 10 years of just them bombing until they're actually good. So like,
Yeah.
what has your experience been with, well, I'm sure you've had to bomb at least at some points or some jokes didn't land. What has
Yeah.
that experience been like? And then two, what is kind of do you plan on continuing to do stand-up? Do you have like a goal in mind with that or what?
I do the second one first. It's really just organic, natural. Me and my wife are actually talking about it today. I've done 6 shows. I did Orlando Sunday, a couple days back, and so that's my 6th show, my 6th live show, and I'm recording all of them. So then, take them, break them down, cut them up, and see if we can make like a special or something. Um, the goal is just to push as far as I can. Like just keep going, getting better, get more comfortable on stage. The hardest part or that bomb. So everybody said if your first show is not terrible, it's your second. And so after my first show being successful, I was almost dreading the second show. So now 6 in, even Sunday in Orlando, like I'm in the green room in the back, and I'm like, damn. And I'm psyching myself out. I'm like, oh man, six is the number of the devil. If you wear 666, that's number 6. It's gonna be so terrible. But I wouldn't say I bombed on any of the shows, but jokes hit different in different cities, which is weird. Where like one joke will kill in Dania, then you go to Detroit, crickets, and then you go to Orlando, and it kills again. And it's just the different approaches to it, how you set it up has to be the same way. But the biggest surprise generally, I would say the end of a laugh, because I joke around and mess around a lot, with friends and sitting at the bar, the guys talking trash to each other, locker room stuff. But like you say something, you joke, and then the guy will joke back on you, and then somebody elaborate on that joke, and it's just kind of like a natural, conversation. Everybody's having a good time laughing. When you're on stage, like you can kill a punchline, and just hit it, boom, and 400 people fall out laughing, and then you got it, like you got it, it worked, and then they say, huh, and all at one time, everybody stops laughing, and they all look back at you. Go again. So then you set up the next joke, and you hit a boom, go again. And so that was the biggest surprise to me, was like the end of a laugh when it's 300 people laughing, stopping at the same time. Okay, go. I'm like, man, I'm only 8 minutes in. I got another 45 minutes.
That's crazy. That's an experience I would want to try one day for sure. When you do it, you think a lot of the people in the audience are already fans of you for the brand you've built, or do you think it's some just like straight comedy fans that are there?
It's both. We actually know, we can look and see, like the ticket sales will have like codes. So, hey, go to, CC5 and get $5 off tickets. So you can kind of see where it comes from with the internet. But then even in Orlando recently, like some people, people bring a Dolphin helmet or, a Gator shirt. And I'm like, okay, you liked me for 20 years. You didn't care if I was funny or not. But then there'll be people just come up and be like, hey man, you're pretty funny. And like they're surprised because they came to watch you bomb because they just love comedy. They're like, oh, this football player thinks he's funny. I'm gonna watch this. This is pretty cool. And then they'll come up and be like, hey man, you're pretty funny. I'll be like, man, thank you so much. So I would say a lot of people know who I am in advance, and we market it that way on socials. But there's some people that just buy tickets, sit me on the little headliners, the list a couple weeks before, and say, hey, I go check out this dude and see what he got.
That's interesting. Well, hope you succeed in the comedy. I would love to see you on a special on Netflix one day.
from your mouth to God's ear.
But that was pretty much most of the questions I had for you. The only other question I wanted to clear up, because I've seen on the internet, is it true you piss yourself in every single NFL game?
Yeah, every game. Every single game. It's actually an encouraging story for young players, or the thought of how athleticism or grind works. Early in my career playing the Broncos, they were 12-4, I think, 05. They were a good team. They came down to Miami, we ended up beating them, but it was early in the year. That's when the Marlins still played, and the Dolphins and Marlins shared the field, so it would still be the dugouts there, so they could move the bleachers, and the baseball team would still play. So the dugout was right behind the home sideline. So I drink Red Bull, Red Line. I don't know if they make Red Line anymore. It started blowing up people's hearts. Red Bull, Red Line. I would hydrate. I get IVs. I'd take 5-hour energy. I'll bike it in. I just loaded my body full of anything that would just get me going. And so when you drink a lot of fluids, you got to pee. Rookie year, We stop them. Punt team goes in the field. I say, okay, I got to punt. Then I might have a TV timeout. Then they got to come back. I was like, oh, we're good to go. We'll be fine. So we get back on offense. I go down. Well, I'm sorry. We make them punt. We come off the field. I go down to the bathroom. So I had to, you get unzip, unbuckle all your crap, take all your, all the stuff off. So I'm down in the dugout, and I hear a roar. In my mind, we just went down and scored. So I'm like, okay, we just punted them the ball. They just punted us the ball. We're on offense. We got a big play to score. Now I got an extra point, and I have a kickoff, and I probably got another TV timeout. I don't have to rush. Zip up, get all done, finish pin, go back up the stairs. We're on defense. We end up fumbling on the first down of our possession. So I walk out, the sideline's going crazy, screaming my name, and my coach, George Edwards, I think he's with the Bucks right now. He's with Todd Bowles with the Buccaneers. George Edwards husses me out. Where the F were you at? What did you do? I was like, Coach, I had to go pee. You're peeing. He just goes crazy. Saban's the head coach. Saban's cussing. Because, their starting with linebacker disappeared off the sideline. So from that moment moving forward, I said, I'm never leaving the sideline again. I don't care what's going on. If it's not halftime or the end of the game, I'm never leaving the sideline again. So same thing. I'm pounding Red Bull, Red Lines, waters, taking IVs, and I had to pee. I take a knee, pee down my leg, spray it off with water, dry it off with a towel, throw the towel in the garbage. I'm talking about every game, 16 games a year, went to one playoff game, peed in that game. Right there, played the Ravens, peed in that game.
Well, it's only crazy if it doesn't work, I guess.
I did okay. Yeah. Guys started noticing, and the teammates gave me a hard time about it. But yeah, people, if you could watch the entire game and stare at me, and like my family would not, you'd never recognize I was peed.
So funny. So then the other thing we didn't talk about is the seasoning, the Crowder powder. I'm guessing that was probably one of your wife's ideas as well, or was that?
Yes, I cook a lot, and I had a whole cabinet full of seasoning, garlic powder, onion powder, thyme, and coriander, cumin. I got all this stuff I put on crap. And my wife, again, being a very smart, woman, and she was like, hey, how about you figure out, what you put on all this stuff, because everybody loves your cooking. And I was like, okay. So got with Brett, like a genius season guy, and brought all the seasonings. He saw kind of like what I put on chicken and, seafood and steak and everything. And he told me like the main ingredients of it, and actually made my own blends. And we went back and forth a couple times. And so now I have 9 blends coming out. We have 1 out now, 2 more coming next month, and then the other 6 probably throughout football season leading the next year.
That's great, dude. I think that's a great product. Lightweight, easy brand, like easy to move. Like people are recurring customers. I think that's a pretty genius product.
Yeah, man. And it's like shelf life. I got something behind it right now. Yeah, shelf life is what, 3 years? So like, yeah, it's sustainable. And use your name. I got a little cartoon me on there, and also we got the marketing already set. Some great connections I have, restaurant people I know, and food service people, hotels, and different things we're gonna meet with. So just something else that's fun. But yeah, the wife, Asia's the CMO, COO, CFO, CEO, all that. I'm just a little cartoon man.
Fair enough. All right. Well, I appreciate you taking the time and talking about all your past and all your ventures coming up. Is there any other ventures or anything else you got coming you want to plug, or let the people know where they can find you?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter and TikTok and Instagram, YouTube. If you go to The Pivot on YouTube, you'll see, we're over 300 episodes right now. We're doing this for a while. I have my own YouTube station, Channing Crowder. I got all my cooking stuff on there. The comedy right now, we're actually breaking it down, so that'll be coming out soon, but it'll all be on my social media. So whenever something new is there, we got the team. CrowderPowder.com. Anybody that wants to try the best seasoning in the world, CrowderPowder.com. It's great. It's like all natural, non-GMO, made in Florida. It's kosher. It's like one of the top kosher approvals and all. So we got all the badges and all like it. So yeah, man, CrowderPowder.com. Go try that out. But yeah, I'm on all social platforms. You'll always be able to see what I'm doing.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate you, man. That's all the questions I got for you. So that's a show.